The Sumerians became the first civilization to determine the accurate length of a year, and they possessed an advanced understanding of astronomy, mathematics, and language. Their understanding of time gives a detailed perspective to the ancient writings referred to as the King's List. The original Anunnaki supreme rulers began the chronicle of rule after a great flood and are said to have descended from the heavens in a kingship. According to the ancient writings, the Anunnaki have been on Earth for more than 430,000 years before the discovery of any evidence of recorded history. It is hard to imagine this amount of missing time from the limited experience in our history, as it is 6,000 years in total from Mesopotamia up to date. In recent years, the theory that humanity has been visited by aliens has received more and more followers. Several ancient writings, which speak of beings that came from heaven, seem to support this hypothesis. Among these supposedly extraterrestrial beings are Annunaki, the deity worshipped by the Sumerians. Anunnaki is believed to be a group of deities in several ancient Mesopotamian cultures, such as the Babylonian, Sumerian, Assyrian, and Akkadian. The name Anunnaki is a derivative of the names Heaven, Anu, and Earth, Ki. However, some groups translate them as princely offspring, or those of royal blood. The Sumerian legends and the ancient texts use the word Anunnaki to refer to a group of gods who came from heaven. They were considered as the main gods of the Sumerian pantheon. The Sumerians worshipped these gods long before the great pantheon of ancient Greece and before the ancient Egyptian gods. The Anunnaki descended from An, the supreme being that reigned all over the Sumerian gods. The Babylonian myths of creation say there were 300 Anunnaki who kept the heavens, and 300 others who guarded the underworld. These deities were so important that they were also mentioned in the Epic of Gilgamesh. The development of Sumerian civilization occurred in the Persian Gulf while growing to strength over time. The plain of the land of Shinar is the territory that was renamed to Babylon after 2000 BC. These people lived in the Middle East on the territory we know as Iran and Iraq today. The Greeks gave it the name Mesopotamia, and which was commonly referred to as the land between two rivers. Most of this region lies in the modern state of Iraq. The tendency to make old gods into real people is not at all new, even though it may seem novel that the ancient gods later became aliens. It is a tendency mostly known as Evemerism, which claims that the gods of various cultures were, in reality, assorted heroes, warriors, kings, and queens, whose lives were turned into fairy tales. According to the mythical stories about Anunnaki, it is believed that they originated from another planet to civilize mankind. But is this true? Or is it just an erroneous interpretation of myths thousands of years old? The ancient astronaut theory suggests that aliens visited planet Earth in the very distant past and modified primitive man genetically, resulting in the modern human race we see today. This theory was dragged into the mainstream by the book Chariot of the Gods, written by Eric von Daniken. He cited several ancient megalithic ruins, such as the Stonehenge, Nazca lines, and pyramids of Giza as being of extraterrestrial influence or origin. In addition, the ancient astronaut theory expresses serious doubts relating to evolution and its role in the development of human beings. According to these theories, aliens modified the DNA of mankind, possibly mixing in with some of their own. This somehow explains the missing link in our current timeline, and why we evolved from primitive to thinking man. The translations of Sumerian mythological writings in Zecharia Sitchin's book give more information about the planet of Nibiru, Planet X. The Anunnaki are sometimes depicted or described as reptilian, and are said to have genetically engineered mankind by copulating with Earth females. According to Sitchin's book, it is believed that their main intention was to create a slave race in humans. Anunnaki descended from An, the superior being that reigned over all the Sumerian gods. According to Sumerian mythology, An was referred to as the god of heaven, the sky god, the king of gods, and lord of constellations. An dwelt in the highest regions of heaven and had the power to judge those who had committed crimes. He was depicted as a jackal in art, and the stars were created as soldiers to destroy the wicked. An was the oldest god in the Sumerian pantheon, and he was called Anu by the rulers of Mesopotamia and the Akkadians. Enki was a deity in Sumerian mythology that was later referred to by the Babylonian mythology as A. Enki was the deity of water, creation, intelligence, and the lord of the Apsu. The name A was written using two signs which signified house and water. Enki was the sole keeper of the holy powers, known as Me, and was considered a god of life and replenishment. In art, he was often designated by the streams of water that would flow down from his shoulders. Most shrines and temples were built in his honor at places such as Babylon, Nineveh, Girsu, and Nippur. Enlil was the chief deity in the Babylonian religion and served as the god of wind or the sky between the heaven and earth. Enlil was banished from Dilmun, home of the gods, when he was a young god. He was sent to the underworld, Kur, after assaulting a young girl, and was allowed to return to Dilmun after fathering 3 more underworld deities. Enlil is mostly associated with the ancient city of Nippur and had a chief temple known as Ekkur, which signifies House of the Mountain. The titles and attributes of Enlil were transferred to Marduk following the political rise of Babylon as a great empire. This forced Nippur to yield its prerogatives to the city that was presided by Marduk, the Babylonian god. According to the interpretation of Sumerian cosmology by Sitchin, Nibiru is a hypothetical planet that follows a long and elliptical orbit that reaches the inner solar system after every 3,600 years. It catastrophically collided with another hypothetical planet called Tiamat between Mars and Jupiter. The collision is said to have led to the formation of planet Earth, the comets, and the asteroid belt. Although Tiamat was outlined as a goddess in the Enuma Elish, Sitchin gave a different opinion that Tiamat may be what we all refer to as Earth. This is explained further that Tiamat split in two after being struck by one of the moons of the planet Nibiru. This scenario has been disputed scientifically, despite the little evidence provided and mythological aspects of the theory. Sitchin supporters hold on to the fact that the split explains the peculiar early geography of Earth because of cleaving from the celestial collision, such as a giant ocean on one side and solid contents on the other side. It also explains the reason why the Earth is layered in sediments. Sitchin further describes that Nibiru used to be a home of Annunaki, which was a human-like extraterrestrial race with technological advancements, called Nephilim in the Bible. There are people who believe that the things that have been written on ancient clay tablets of Mesopotamia are actual descriptions of other worldly beings that descended upon the earth thousands of years ago. Others believe that the ancient Annunaki are part of a creation myth embraced by ancient cultures like the Babylonian, Sumerian, Assyrian, and Akkadian. The Agigi are said to be the ancient astronaut gods of the younger generations, even before the alleged creation of mankind by the ancient Annunaki. They were the servants to the mighty Annunaki, whose mission on Earth was to mine gold. Sitchin supporters claim that he is one of the few individuals who have read the Sumerian language, and that he must be interpreting the data accurately since he understands their way of communication. However, the assertion that Sitchin may be one of the few scholars of Sumerian is not true and is just a specious argument. There are different views annotating the Annunaki creation myth. Some claim it is a great evidence that supports creationism, while others provide negative views of this myth. People who are against the Annunaki regime view them like a malevolent race that wanted to enslave mankind. Most scenarios of their ancient past have been linked to different stories in the Bible without any supportive evidence of the connection. Sitchin maintains his perspective that Annunaki engineered the Homo sapiens genetically by combining the extraterrestrial genes with that of humans. The human race was meant to be slave creatures that would be forced to work on the gold mines. This might explain why human beings evolved from primitive to thinking man, and why we are missing the huge link in our current timeline.